My elder sister eloped with another man, so I married General Wen in her stead. During the wedding procession, my sister, who was supposed to have fled, suddenly appeared and shouted accusations. She claimed I'd resorted to underhanded tactics to marry General Wen, drugging her tea. At that moment, words suddenly filled my vision. Wonderful! The heroine has been reborn. This time, she must reclaim everything that belongs to her. Last time she gambled everything to elope with that scumbag, only to end up as a concubine. After finally being with young General Wen, her unborn child was killed by the female supporting character. Having lived through the past life, the heroine can finally recognize who truly loves her. This time she'll suffer far less. But doesn't anyone find it odd? She was the one who wanted to elope. Why is she now framing the female supporting character? You just don't get it, do you? The heroine is seeking vengeance for her unborn child. Support the heroine's revenge. The female supporting character deserves it. The words before me erupted in cheers. And I was the so-called vicious female supporting character they spoke of. I couldn't understand why the people in those words would say such things. If the banished sister wants it, I'll give it to her. My vision spun dizzyingly, as if struck by a blunt blow. Fragmented images flooded my mind. The knife Wen Hengyu handed me personally. Su Zhaoran's smile, innocent as ever. These scenes piled up chaotically, churning, then exploded with a thunderous crash. I gasped sharply. Hold on tight, young lady. The matchmaker's shrill cry snapped me back to reality. Only then did a ludicrous thought crash into my mind. I had been reborn, returning to the day I married in place of my elder sister. The wedding palanquin swayed, just lifted from the ground. Outside, a commotion erupted, accompanied by a woman's shrill cries. General Liu, stop. It's me. It's me, Zhaoran. The voice was shrill and piercing. Su Wani. To marry that lowly General Wen, you'll stop at nothing. You drugged my tea and impersonated me in the palanquin. The strange characters before my eyes flashed faster. Every word declared I deserved my punishment. The gathered crowd murmured among themselves. Before I could react, Father and my legitimate mother, Lady Wang, hurried out. Father's face was ashen. Bowing his hands, he declared, General Wen, my household has suffered disgrace. This scandal is my failure as a father. His voice boomed, righteous and stern. As if he hadn't been the one forcing me into the wedding gown moments ago. Guards! Drag this rebellious daughter away. Father! Mother! It's not like that. A small, frail figure suddenly stumbled out from the side gate. Her little face was deathly pale, yet she mustered her courage to run to Lin Hong's side and cling to his leg. It was clearly my eldest sister who ran away from the wedding, so my second sister just, shut your mouth. Father's anger flared, and he raised his hand, delivering a heavy slap across her face. The sharp crack silenced everyone for a moment. Su Mingyue's small body was knocked sprawling to the ground. Wretched child! What nonsense are you spouting? You must have been corrupted by that vicious elder sister of yours. Madame Wang shrieked, signaling the maidservants to seize her. Su Mingyue's face was blank and terrified. In my past life, after my death, Su Zhaoran had vowed to grind my bones to dust. The image of Su Mingyue being beaten to death by her henchmen to protect my ashes instantly overlapped with the scene before me. Blood surged, nearly bursting through my skull. I violently tore open the sedan curtain. A dazzling crimson wedding gown glowed blindingly in the sunlight. Su Mingyue saw me, and tears rolled down her cheeks in large drops. I strode quickly to her side. Swiftly, I tore off the sachets my mother had left me and thrust them into her hands. Mingyue, right now, go immediately to the Jing Prince's mansion and seek an audience with His Highness the Jing Prince. Don't ask any questions, just go. Quickly! Su Mingyue nodded firmly, scrambled to her feet, and rushed toward the edge of the crowd. Lin Hong barked, stop her. I'd like to see who dares. Without hesitation, I drew a guard sword and turned it to press against Su Zhaoran's throat. The crowd froze, no one daring to move. My heart settled slightly, knowing I'd at least secured a sliver of hope for myself and my sister. When Hengyu, who had been observing coldly, dismounted with swift, precise movements. His crimson wedding robes accentuated his figure, straight and tall like a pine tree. His features were handsome, yet his gaze was as icy as frozen water. "Lower your blade." I gripped the hilt tightly. "Are you forcing my hand, General Wen?" That look was all too familiar. In my past life, after Wen Hingyu realized he'd married the wrong person, his loathing for me was unbearable. I swallowed every grievance, managing his household and tending to his mother. When his old ailment flared, I scoured the capital for renowned physicians. When he longed for his elder sister's melodies, I took up the zither, even as blisters filled my fingertips. I poured my heart into earning his mere glance. Yet it proved less effective than a single tear from Su Zhaoran. "I'll say it once more, drop it." The moment his words fell, excruciating pain shot through my wrist. The long sword slipped from my grasp, crashing to the ground. Almost simultaneously, a powerful force slammed me to the floor. My cheek smashed hard against the cold stone slab. Several guards pinned my shoulders and arms down, rendering me utterly immobile. Wen Hingyu's eyes brimmed with scorn. "Who gave you the audacity to harm Zhaoran?" Witnessing this, father issued a direct order. This wretch attempted to murder his own sister and defied his elders. "Beat him to death with clubs to uphold our family law." Su Zhaoran had already been shielded behind Wen Hingyu. He carefully examined the wound on her neck, his eyes filled with heartache. Su Zhaoran leaned against him, her voice faint. "General, she is still my sister. Why not just give her a few strokes and lock her in the ancestral hall for reflection?" When Hingyu tightened his embrace, his voice gentle. "Zhaoran, you're simply too kind-hearted. Such a venomous woman, keeping her alive only brings harm." He raised his hand to shield her eyes. "Don't look. It's filthy." General Wen is such a tender, protective husband. The heroine's kindness breaks my heart. Even now she's pleading for the villainess. The villainess's downfall is utterly satisfying. Standing with the heroine, this lifetime, she must grow old with General Wen. I lay sprawled on the ground, tugging at the corner of my mouth. I wanted to smile, but it only tugged at my wounds. In my previous life, my final moments unfolded exactly like this. Out of old affection, Wen Hingyu couldn't bring himself to strike. So he placed the blade in my own hand, commanding me to take my own life. Su Zhaoran wept like a rain-soaked pear blossom, unable to bear watching. The first blow landed, smashing heavily against my back. The second followed swiftly, striking my side. Intense pain instantly engulfed my body, darkness swirling before my eyes. A flicker of satisfaction crossed Su Mingyue's eyes, a faint, uncontrollable smile curling her lips. Just as the third blow was about to fall, the urgent clatter of hooves grew louder from afar. "Halt!" The black stallion charged through the crowd. The rider scanned the scene, his gaze finally settling on me. As if searching through me for a familiar silhouette. Prince Jing closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them again, they burned crimson. He dismounted and carefully lifted me horizontally. "Come. Grandfather will take you home." "Su, we'll settle this later." Father hurried forward to explain, "Your Highness." There's more to this. The only response was the dust kicked up by the horse's hooves. Creepy when you think about it. How did the female supporting character know her own identity? Could the supporting female lead have reincarnated too? Might she do even worse things to the heroine? Stop speculating. The heroine is already married to General Wen. She'll live happily ever after. Once the third prince ascends the throne, Prince Jing and the heroine will still meet their end. Su Zhaoran clearly anticipated these outcomes too. Her body stiffened slightly, panic flickering in her eyes. "Nan Nan, hold on a little longer. We're almost home." Prince Jing murmured the words repeatedly into my ear. His rough fingers brushed my bangs gently. "Grandfather is here. No one can harm you." My consciousness began to blur, and I could only barely grasp the hem of his robe. Those bizarre, swirling characters twisted and spun, finally transforming into images from my past life, engulfing me. I dreamt of my child. It was a spring afternoon. His little face was rosy, his tiny fists clenched, sleeping soundly. When Hingyu entered with quiet steps, he extended a finger, gently touching the child's soft cheek. Leaning down to gaze at him for a long while, he asked, "Has he been good today?" My heart brimmed with the tender softness of new motherhood. "Very good." He fell asleep after feeding. When Hengyu straightened up and turned to me. "Choose a name for him. You are his mother." I thought for a moment. "Let's call him Ping'an, peace and smooth sailing." "Wen Ping'an." He repeated the name, nodding. "Good. We'll name him Wen Ping'an." Genuine warmth shone in Wen Hengyu's eyes. "Perhaps this was fate's design, to bring you to me. You've worked so hard. Both the child and I need you." My nose stung with emotion. For this moment, everything I had sacrificed before felt worthwhile. I had loved Wen Hengyu too. It all began at a banquet, when Su Xiaoran and her clique once again tried to humiliate me. It was Wen Hengyu who came to my rescue. That budding affection was nipped in the bud by me. He was a star in the heavens, I was mud upon the earth. How could there ever be a future? Until that day when father urgently summoned me to take his place in marriage. I offered little resistance, even harboring a secret flicker of joy. I knew Wen Hengyu loved Su Xiaoran. But what if? With things as they were, I just had to do better. Someday, Wen Hengyu would see. Now, that day has finally come. When the child turned 3. Su Xiaoran returned, her face haggard, a sorry sight. She had eloped with that scholar, only to become his concubine. 2 years later, that scholar took a legitimate wife. Su Xiaoran wept and wailed over and over, recounting how the scholar abused her and how she managed to escape. She had suffered the greatest injustice. At first, Wen Hengyu only said he couldn't bear to see her suffer and often went to visit her. I forced myself to believe it. I had Ping'an. We had 5 years of affection between us. Su Xiaoran was merely a pitiful, desperate old acquaintance. Until that day, when Wen Hengyu entered my chamber, his expression calm. "Wani, I intend to take Xiaoran as my equal wife." My grip on Ping'an's hand tightened. "General, it is unheard of for sisters to share one husband." Wen Hengyu's brow furrowed. "But she is already with child." At that, I could only offer a bitter smile. "Let her enter the household, but only as a concubine." Wen Hengyu exhaled in relief. "Then I shall comply." When Su Xiaoran was 4 months pregnant, I was playing with Ping'an in the back garden. She approached unnoticed. "Ping'an, come to Auntie. Auntie has candy." Seeing Ping'an didn't move, Su Xiaoran stepped forward, bending down to take his hand. Before she could touch him, her foot slipped. She let out a startled cry and fell backward onto the ground. "Ah, my belly! What happened?" Wen Hengyu rushed over in long strides, shoving me aside as he scooped Su Xiaoran into his arms. Tears welled in Su Xiaoran's eyes as she weakly pointed at me. "It was my sister. It was my sister who made Ping'an push me. Hengyu. Our child. Our child." I trembled with rage. "Ping'an is only 3. How could he possibly push you?" Wen Hengyu looked at me with disappointment and fury. "Xiaoran is in this state, and you're still making excuses?" "I knew it. You've never accepted her. You've never accepted this child." Ping'an, frightened by the scene, burst into tears and threw himself into my arms. Wen Hengyu snapped impatiently, "Shut him up. Like mother, like son. I regret ever giving birth to him." My heart ached. "Don't treat the child like this." Wen Hengyu turned away from me, picking up Su Xiaoran. "Take the lady and the young master back to the courtyard." Without my orders, not a single step outside. Ping'an and I were confined to our quarters. That night, Ping'an developed a high fever from the shock. I was frantic, pounding on the door, begging the guards to tell the general to send for a doctor. The guard went, but returned expressionless. "The general says the lady should behave herself and stop using such tricks to gain sympathy. Madame Su just lost her child and needs quiet rest." I knelt at the door, sobbing uncontrollably. No one paid any attention. Ping'an's fever persisted, his tiny body burning like a piece of charcoal. I wiped him down repeatedly with cold water, clutching his scorching little hand, whispering over and over in his ear, "Ping'an, don't be afraid. Mama is here. Ping'an, don't be afraid." But my Ping'an, my little Ping'an, finally stopped breathing in my arms on the 7th night. As he slipped away, he asked me, "Mother, where is father?" I could not answer. Holding his body as it grew cold, I sat through the night, weeping until my tears ran dry. When Wenhengyu saw Ping'an lying lifeless on the bed, he staggered toward it as if struck by lightning. I bit down fiercely on his arm. I begged you countless times, but no one listened. Wenhengyu, it was you. You killed our son. Overwhelming regret and agony engulfed him. Wenhengyu let me bite him until he bled. It was the first time he ever shed tears. But what good did it do? My inner was gone forever. During the days of preparing for the child's funeral, Wenhengyu stayed by my side without leaving for a moment. After a nurse burial, I dispatched people to investigate Su Zhaoran. And I uncovered the truth. Su Zhaoran had never been pregnant at all. I presented the witnesses and evidence before Wenhengyu. Su Zhaoran was initially flustered, then vehemently denied it, claiming I was framing her. She said I'd lost my mind after losing the child, that I hated her so deeply I'd fabricated the evidence. Wenhengyu studied the testimonies and evidence. Then he looked at Su Zhaoran, who was weeping until she nearly fainted. He fell silent. Finally, he waved his hand, rubbing his temples wearily. "Wani, I know you're grieving. I'm the one who failed you regarding Inner. But Zhaoran also lost a child. You mustn't take your anger out on her." "Taking it out on her," he said. "I'm taking it out on her. I wanted to kill them. I wanted to die with them. But I couldn't. I thought of Mingyue. She was 16 this year, already discussing marriage. I couldn't ruin her. All my strength drained away, and I collapsed to the floor." What followed felt like a fast-forwarded kaleidoscope. The court was thrown into turmoil. The crown prince was deposed, the third prince ascended the throne. The new emperor purged the former crown prince's faction with ruthless efficiency. First in line for punishment was Prince Jing, who had fiercely defended the crown prince. Prince Jing's mansion was ransacked, and he was escorted to the execution ground. It was then that my father stepped forward, accusing my sister and me of being Prince Jing's illegitimate children left behind. When I awoke, my sister and my maternal grandfather were both at my bedside. "What would you like to eat, my dear? I'll have the kitchen prepare it at once." My grandfather gazed at me with earnest concern. The once powerful Grand Duke of the court was now merely a white-haired old man desperate to make amends. Rarely did I feel familial affection again, and for a moment, my throat grew dry. "Grandfather, I'm fine. I've caused you worry." Prince Jing's eyes were slightly reddened as he fought back surging emotions. "It's my failure as a grandfather that let you and Mingyue suffer so much. You were always right beside me, yet I never noticed all these years." I lowered my eyes. "It's not your fault. Su Haifeng did this deliberately. The entire capital knew my grandfather was searching for his daughter. My father couldn't have been unaware. Su Haifeng claimed publicly that Mother was someone he'd found. Ever since I could remember, Mother was different from others. She was exceptionally beautiful, yet always quiet, her eyes clear as a child's. Su Haifeng kept her in the most secluded room at the back of the courtyard, forbidding anyone to approach. Until Mother died in childbirth, giving birth to Mingyue, bleeding to death. The funeral was hastily arranged, not even a tombstone bearing her name was permitted. Looking back now, every detail is suspicious. Su Haifeng clearly knew my mother's identity and deliberately concealed it. After the Jing prince's mansion fell in the previous life, he betrayed both me and Mingyue. Under my grandfather's meticulous care, my health quickly improved. Shortly after recovering, the Empress summoned me to the palace. My grandfather, concerned, personally escorted me to the palace gates. The audience proceeded smoothly. The Empress was dignified and graceful, her smile gentle as she inquired about family matters. Afterward, I shared a meal with both the Empress and the Crown Prince. All was peaceful and cordial, the hosts and guests alike in high spirits. Yet, on the return journey to the mansion, an unexpected turn of events unfolded. My carriage came face to face with Su Zhaoran's procession. Neither of us would yield, and so we remained locked in a standoff. In the midst of this stalemate, the scholar from earlier stepped directly in front of Wen Hengyu and Su Zhaoran. Su Zhaoran, you fickle woman. We agreed long ago to elope together. Why did you change your mind at the last moment and marry someone else? Su Zhaoran forced herself to remain calm. What nonsense are you talking about? I don't know you. You don't know me? The scholar raised the small garment in his hand and unfurled it. The mandarin ducks embroidered on this were stitched by your own hands. You were the one who eagerly sought physical intimacy with me. Now you claim not to know me? The scholar was clearly enraged beyond reason, spilling everything without restraint. Su Zhaoran shook her head frantically. When she regained her senses, her gaze shot venomously toward my carriage. Are you Su Wani? Did you send this man to slander me? Are you so consumed by jealousy that you won't rest until you've ruined me? Guards dragged the scholar away, his mouth still spewing filthy insults like filthy whore. Su Zhaoran ordered his men to beat the scholar to death with clubs. In my previous life, she truly suffered at the scholar's hands, so I made no attempt to stop it. It must be the female supporting character's doing. She knows the female lead eloped with the scholar in the past life, so she deliberately brought him here to torment her. Those who spread slander are the most disgusting. The female lead is so tragic. Just as she was about to live a good life, she gets framed by the female supporting character. When is this supporting character going to drop out? She's so irritating to watch. I lifted the sedan curtain, peeking out half my face with a faint smile. Sister, you flatter me. How could I possibly foresee your presence here today and arrange for this scholar, with whom you share a past, to appear beforehand? However, if General Wen has the time, he might send someone to dig around in your courtyard. They might just unearth the love letters between these two. Caught off guard by my mention, Wen Hengyu stared at me, his eyes brimming with scrutiny. Second Miss Su, I can't shake the feeling you're not quite yourself today. Noticing Wen Hengyu's unease, Su Zhaoran rushed to my sedan chair, whispering threateningly, Su Wani, have you reincarnated too? A perfectly measured look of bewilderment flashed in my eyes. Sister, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Su Zhaoran stared intently at me, searching my face for the slightest slip. When my expression remained unchanged, she snorted coldly. Whether you have or not, I'll tell you this, Wen Hengyu is mine. You couldn't defeat me last lifetime, and you won't this one either. I deliberately countered her, if you love Wen Hengyu so much, why did you run away from the wedding back then? Her silence and embarrassment were the best answers. Su Zhaoran, enraged by her own shame, stomped her foot and rushed back to grab Wen Hengyu. Hengyu, let's go. She's just a mad woman. Wen Hengyu hesitated briefly before lifting his foot. Before leaving, he couldn't resist glancing back, as if deep in thought. Our eyes met, and a wave of nausea washed over me. Memories, not yet faded, surged back instantly. Memories of how I died. After Su Haifeng exposed my true identity. The newly appointed third prince asked Wen Hengyu, do you want the official position, or do you want me? I never imagined Wen Hengyu would be so ruthless. He wanted me dead. An exquisitely crafted dagger lay on the wooden table. Wen Hengyu turned his face away, unable to bear looking at me. The Emperor's will is final. You. End it yourself. Leave a whole body. That's the least we can do for our final kindness. Su Zhaoran squeezed out 2 tears. Sister, don't blame us. Blame only the wrong womb you were born into. I lifted my eyes, forcing a grim smile. Very well. I replied. Grasping the dagger, I thrust it with all my strength toward Wen Hengyu's abdomen. The blade pierced his official robes, meeting resistance. Wen Hengyu reacted with lightning speed. Agonizing pain and shock made his pupils contract sharply. He had trained in martial arts for years. I couldn't kill him. His palm sent me flying. My organs shifted, and blood gushed from my mouth. The divorce papers slipped from my embrace. Suddenly, it all seemed absurd. To spare him my burden, I'd prepared the divorce papers long ago. Yet he sought my life. I collapsed on the ground, unable to move. When Hengyu picked up the blood-stained divorce papers from the ground, his expression complex. We were husband and wife for a time. I have wronged you. If there is a next life, I will serve you as ox or horse to repay you. In my final moments, I mustered my last ounce of strength to curse him. Wen Hengyu. In this life, I curse you to find nothing you seek. To grow old alone. The blade fell. Darkness swallowed everything. My thoughts returned. I drew a deep breath, suppressing the hatred churning within. Half a month passed. Each day, I watched the flickering text above my head. It was my way of gathering news about Su Zhaoran and Wen Hengyu. Breaking news, the Turks have invaded. The third prince has volunteered to lead the defense. In the previous life, the third prince ascended 4 years later. With the female lead's help this time, he might seize the throne early. The crown prince must die for the third prince to take his place. Support the female lead's schemes. No, please. The crown prince is a decent man. I'm a bit reluctant to see him go. The saintly heart strikes again? Don't you understand the victor takes all? No matter how good the crown prince is, if he stands in the way, he must die. In the previous life, the third prince seized power 4 years later. He exploited the crown prince's assassination during a southern inspection tour, rallying military generals and civil officials to force a coup. This time, knowing the future, Su Zhaoran naturally aided the third prince in advancing his plans. 3 days later, an imperial edict was issued. Crown Prince Li Qingjing was ordered to lead the expeditionary force, with Wen Hengyu included in the contingent. Wen Hengyu, a military commander, held a delicate position. In the previous life, he had not openly sided with either the crown prince or the third prince until the final moment, when he aligned with the victor. This time, with Su Zhaoran present, he would likely have already joined the third prince's faction. The day before departure, I sought out the crown prince privately. Your Highness, this humble maiden must accompany the army north. Li Qingjing looked stunned. Impossible. The battlefield is perilous. If Prince Jing learns of this, he will never consent. My gaze was unwavering. This servant must go. I will personally speak with my maternal grandfather. On the day of departure, the sky was still dark. I changed into the male attire I had prepared long ago and blended into the crowd around the crown prince. From afar, I spotted Su Zhaoran, also disguised as a man. Our eyes met, and Su Zhaoran glared at me. Wen Hengyu followed her gaze. When he saw me, a clear look of astonishment flashed in his eyes. He stared at me for several breaths. Until Su Zhaoran stepped sideways, firmly blocking his view. Upon reaching the frontline camp, Su Zhaoran began her actions as expected. But with the written warnings, each time ended with a scare but no real danger. Su Zhaoran poisoned the drinks. I unerringly picked out the poisoned cup and handed it to Wen Hengyu. The third prince tampered with the crown prince's horse. I led the horse to Wen Hengyu, saying I wanted to swap it for his. Once again, I helped the crown prince evade an assassination attempt. The crown prince remained completely oblivious, smiling foolishly. Little sister Wani, the moon tonight is truly beautiful. I glanced at him sideways. I couldn't help but marvel that sometimes, being a bit dense had its perks. Escaping once or twice might be coincidence, but 3 or 4 times? Even the text began to grow suspicious. Does the female supporting character have a cheat code too? Isn't this supposed to be a reincarnation feel-good story? This isn't feel-good at all. Honestly, I find the supporting female lead's character more compelling than the main heroine's. When Hengyu was wounded during a surprise attack. A small Turkic cavalry unit raided the supply camp at night. When Hengyu led his troops to repel them. In the chaos, he was struck by a poisoned arrow in the shoulder. Unconscious, he was carried back to the main camp. I knew this was a prime opportunity for revenge. Deep into the night, I changed into black robes, veiled my face, and slipped into Wen Hengyu's chamber. I drew my dagger. This strike was for my own safety. The blade rose and fell. But Wen Hengyu stirred at that very moment, and the tip veered an inch off course. Just then, footsteps echoed outside the room. No time for a second strike, I spun and leapt through the window to escape. Assassin! Guards shouted in alarm as the crowd surged toward the room. I had already returned to my quarters, changed back into civilian clothes, and wiped the blade clean. After tidying everything, I feigned nonchalance and hurried to Wen Hengyu's side. The bed was drenched in blood. The military doctor was treating Wen Hengyu's wounds. The crown prince paced back and forth, his face etched with worry. How could this happen? General Wen, you must hold on. Su Zhaoran rushed in to witness this very scene. She let out a shriek and nearly fainted. Startled, the crown prince shouted loudly, "Someone! Quickly, the military doctor! Take the general's wife's pulse." The medic took Su Zhaoran's pulse. Then froze. "Congratulations, madam. You are with child, already over 2 months along." Comments flooded in, "Congratulations. May this child be born safe and sound. General Wen, recover quickly. May your family of 3 find happiness." Seeing this, the crown prince smiled and said, "This is wonderful news, General Wen. Congratulations." Wen Hengyu's face showed no trace of joy, instead, it darkened further. Su Zhaoran's face, however, paled by the second. One dark, one pale, a pair of contrasting shadows. Wen Hengyu spoke, enunciating each word clearly, "I have never touched her." Dead silence fell within the tent. The crown prince fell silent. Words fell silent. The court physician, hunched over, dared not utter a sound. By all accounts, this child should belong to the scholar. No wonder Su Zhaoran chose to elope. I stood to the side, meeting Wen Hengyu's deep gaze. Within it, the probing intensified, tinged with a hint of tenderness. The crown prince cleared his throat, shifting the topic. General Wen, do you recall the assassin's appearance?" Wen Hengyu's gaze drifted from my face. He pursed his lips and shook his head. "I've forgotten. I didn't get a clear look." I drifted off in thought, sensing something was off. 3 days later, when Hengyu could barely walk, he found me, staggering toward me, smiling earnestly. "Wani, you'll come back too, won't you? This lifetime, shall we be devoted husband and wife again?" When Hengyu seized both my wrists, his eyes bloodshot. "I had a dream. I saw Ping'an. He was crying, asking why I didn't care about him. I shook him off. General Wen, your injuries have clouded your mind." "I'm not clouded." Less than half a year after your death, Su Zhaoran slept with the 3rd prince. He suddenly roared, his eyes bulging. I went mad trying to investigate and discovered Su Zhaoran truly wasn't pregnant back then. I believed her, but I didn't believe you. Our Ping'an was indirectly killed by Su Zhaoran. I didn't want to say more to him. "Stop. Ping'an was killed by you. It has little to do with Su Zhaoran. She only killed my sister, Mingyue. I've always been clear about who owes me and who owes others. Only before I died did I realize no one in this lifetime would ever love me like you did. I begged the heavens for another chance, never expecting they'd actually let me return. Wani, I know I deserve to die 1,000 times over. Give me one more chance." By the end, when Hengyu's expression had grown faintly deranged. "Fine. I cut him off. Kill Su Zhaoran," I pointed toward the camp, "and I'll give you that chance." When Hengyu staggered to his feet and turned to leave, I gave chase. To my shock, when Hengyu actually drew his sword and sought out Su Zhaoran. "Hengyu, your wounds aren't healed yet." "How?" She didn't finish. When Hengyu thrust his sword into her chest. "In my past life, you conspired with the 3rd prince and forged letters to frame me for colluding with enemy forces. The entire Wen family was executed. But at least I killed you before I died. This life, you'll still die by my hand." Su Zhaoran stared at Wen Hengyu, then at me, her face frozen in disbelief. You reincarnated too?" All color drained from Su Zhaoran's face. Meanwhile, the text before my eyes began scrolling frantically. This plot isn't in the book. This happens after the ending, right? So we were deceived by the female lead from the start. What garbage plot. Dropping this book. Gotta go, this is a waste of time. The text became a chaotic jumble. When Hengyu drew his sword, preparing for the final, fatal strike. "Wait!" The 3rd prince suddenly appeared, gripping Wen Hengyu's wrist tightly. "General Wen, calm yourself. When Hengyu's wound burst open, blood seeping out. Does the third prince intend to protect this whore? Step aside, your highness. My Wen family has no use for such an unfaithful whore. I'll cut open her belly and take the child, then dispose of this worthless woman. Tension hung thick in the air. The third prince suddenly smiled, openly admitting, General, this child is mine. Not just mine. Su Zhaoran froze for a moment before snapping back to reality, immediately seizing the opportunity. Yes, that's right. The child is His Highness the Third Prince's. You cannot kill me. Third Prince truly is. When Hengyu laughed bitterly, truly a man of responsibility. The Crown Prince arrived at that very moment, his eyes wide with shock. You. Third brother, you. He grasped the situation. The Crown Prince stood straight, his expression grave. Third brother, I will report this matter truthfully to father. General Wen, the royal blood within Su Zhaoran's womb must not be harmed. Rest assured, I will ensure father gives you a proper explanation. As for Sister Wani, I blinked, signaling him to continue. Sister Wani, someone is seeking you outside the camp. A bad feeling stirred within me. Who? The Crown Prince shot me a look that said good luck with that. Uncle Jing. I left hastily, leaving only a letter for my grandfather. I arrived outside the camp. My grandfather stood with his hands behind his back. Grandfather. I called softly. Grandfather turned, scrutinizing me from head to toe. Only after confirming I was unharmed did the tension in his expression ease slightly, before hardening again. Foolish girl. What do you think the battlefield is? How dare you come here? I lowered my head, silent. Grandfather stared at me for a moment before his tone softened. Are you hurt? I shook my head. Come back with me. The Crown Prince and the generals will handle matters here. What kind of example is it for a young lady like you to remain here? I looked into his worried eyes. Warmth filled my heart, and my voice carried a hint of pleading. Let me stay just a few more days. Only a few. Prince Jing remained silent for a long while before finally sighing. 10 days at most. Very well. My heart eased, and I obediently agreed. Less than 10 days. On the 5th day, the emperor's edict arrived by swift horse. The eunuch delivering the decree read it out expressionlessly. The third prince is to return to the capital immediately, without delay. Su Shi, whose guilt is evident, is to be escorted back to the capital alongside him, awaiting punishment. For now, the dust had settled. My heart calmed slightly, and I agreed to depart for the capital with my maternal grandfather. After returning, life seemed to ease up all at once. My grandfather poured all the affection he'd withheld for years onto Mingyue and me. Our food, clothing, and daily necessities were the finest, and he even hired female tutors to teach us reading and writing. Mingyue's little face grew rounder day by day, her eyes finally sparkling with the radiance befitting her age. Occasional news trickled in from the palace. The third prince had been stripped of all his official duties and confined to his residence. I welcomed the peace, though I dared not relax completely. Knowing Su Zhaoran as I did, she would never sit idly by. Sure enough, the peaceful days lasted less than 2 months. One early morning, my vision was once again filled with densely packed text. Holy crap, the third prince colluded with the Turks? Planning a desperate counterattack? Brilliant diversion tactic, pretending to let the Turks create pressure at the border to tie down the Crown Prince and Wen Hengyu's main forces, then seizing the chance to stage a palace coup in the capital. What a cunning plan. 10 days. They'll strike in 10 days. Ah! Supporting character, hurry up and make your move. I did not disappoint the text's expectations. I spread paper and ground ink, swiftly composing a secret letter. I concealed the source, attributing it only to intelligence intercepted by spies from Prince Jing's mansion. I specifically urged the Crown Prince to act swiftly. The third prince's nature was stubborn. Having come this far, he would never turn back. A silent scheme unfolded without a whisper. On the 10th day, the sky hung heavy and gloomy. The third prince, bearing his token of authority, entered the inner palace without a single obstacle. Father, he spoke, his voice echoing through the empty hall, your son has come to pay his respects. The emperor lowered his scroll and lifted his eyes to meet his gaze. Qingyu, what kind of greetings are these? The third prince smiled. Naturally, they are the final farewells to send you on your journey. Qingyu, the emperor spoke slowly, his voice heavy with profound weariness. The crown prince wrote 2 days ago, accusing you of treasonous intent. I refused to believe it. I ask myself, have I not treated you well? The crown prince is kind and benevolent, never once harboring suspicion or oppression toward you, his younger brother. He paused, his eyes now filled with utter disillusionment. Is this how you repay me? The third prince's expression changed abruptly. Glancing around at the imperial guards who had appeared from nowhere, he finally realized that his meticulously planned coup attempt was nothing but a joke. The emperor closed his eyes briefly. Take him away. The imperial dungeon was dark and damp. Within mere days, the third prince had wasted away beyond recognition. Su Zhaoran, arrested alongside him, fared worse. His face and body were covered in bruises. Why? The third prince grabbed Su Zhaoran by the collar, his eyes bloodshot. Su Zhaoran, tell me why. Didn't you say I was destined for the throne? Didn't you say I would be emperor? Su Zhaoran's eyes were vacant as she muttered to herself, I don't know. I truly don't know. It was clearly like this in the previous life. The previous life. The previous life. The third prince landed punch after punch on Su Zhaoran. Go back to your past life. I want this one. I want to live. He suddenly grabbed Su Zhaoran's hair and slammed her head violently against the wall. It's all your fault. You ruined me. If I hadn't believed your nonsense, how could I have ended up like this? Su Zhaoran let out a pained scream. Only when the jailers heard the commotion and rushed in did they pull the third prince away. The day of the execution. I stood among the crowd outside the execution ground, watching the third prince and Su Zhaoran being led onto the platform. Su Zhaoran had already gone mad, her eyes vacant. Until she saw me. She suddenly began struggling, dragging her broken body toward me, screaming, it's me. I am the general's wife. I will still be the empress above all. Su Wani. You'll spend your entire life beneath my feet. Ha 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 ha, I won. I won. Su Zhaoran kept laughing, but mid-laugh, she suddenly burst into tears. How could this happen? I clearly reincarnated. I clearly knew everything. Memories of my past life flashed through my mind. Pingyun's cold, lifeless body. Mingyue's horrifying death. The executioner's blade rising and falling. Su Zhaoran's voice abruptly ceased. Those words that had haunted me for so long began to fade away the instant Su Zhaoran drew her last breath, until they vanished completely. What a wild story, the female lead reincarnates as the antagonist only to die in the end. But she deserved it. Karma's a bitch. May the supporting female lead live happily ever after. I misjudged the supporting female lead before, but seeing this life through her perspective is actually pretty satisfying. Why no sequel? I want to know the ending for the supporting female lead and General Wen. The vision finally cleared completely. I exhaled in relief. At last, one was dead. The remaining one. I would have to handle personally. News of the great victory at the frontier swiftly reached the capital. In the Golden Hall, the emperor publicly announced 2 matters. One was to promote Wen Hengyu and bestow upon him a noble title. The other was to issue an edict, declaring the throne would be passed to the crown prince ahead of schedule. Wen Hengyu declined both the title and the gold. He pleaded only that His Majesty take me as his wife. My maternal grandfather was so enraged he forgot court etiquette, his beard trembling. How dare you, you upstart! Dream on! From that day on, Wen Hengyu seemed truly determined to marry me. He often stood guard at the gates of Prince Jing's mansion, refusing to leave. I paid him no mind. All my energy was poured into one monumental task. When the time was ripe, I struck the imperial drum with my petition in hand. I accused Su Haifeng, the current Vice Minister of Revenue, of trafficking imperial children and imprisoning and abusing his wives and concubines. The court was shaken once more. Years ago, after my mother and grandfather were separated, she encountered human traffickers and was sold to Su Haifeng as a concubine. My mother attempted to escape several times, only to be captured by Su Haifeng each time. Each capture was followed by brutal beatings, until she gradually became mentally impaired. Even in her impaired state, my mother never forgot she had a father who loved her deeply. In my childhood, the occasional tunes my mother hummed were the very songs my maternal grandfather often listened to. Witness testimony and physical evidence converged. Su Haifeng's face drained of color, inch by inch. His legs buckled, and he collapsed to the ground. The new emperor's face darkened with fury. Su Haifeng, do you know your crimes? Su Haifeng's lips trembled, unable to utter a word of defense. Strip Su Haifeng of all official positions and titles. Imprison him in the heavenly dungeon. Execute him on a date to be determined. After the court session ended, I stood before the towering palace gates, gazing up at the vast sky. Another great worry had been resolved. Finally, only one remained. That night, Mingyue burrowed under my covers with a pillow, her body trembling slightly. Big sister, I had a nightmare. I held her close. What did you dream? Her voice trembled with tears. I dreamed we all died. You, me, and grandfather. My heart clenched, and I held her tighter. Don't be afraid. Dreams and reality are opposites. Grandfather is fine, and so are you. She gradually calmed in my embrace. After a while, she suddenly asked softly, Sister, what was our mother like? Was she beautiful? I fell silent for a moment. Deep in my memory, Mother's face had long blurred, leaving only scattered fragments. She always loved sitting by that narrow window, gazing at the small patch of sky outside. She was beautiful, as lovely as our moon, I soothed, gently patting her back. The sound of even breathing came from beside me. Outside the window, the moonlight was bleak and desolate, autumn winds rustling through the courtyard trees. All that was now in the past. The new emperor had arrived at Prince Jing's mansion in plain clothes. My grandfather hurried to bow in greeting, but the emperor raised a hand to stop him. Uncle Wang, no need for formalities. Today I come as a junior relative. The emperor's smile was gentle as his gaze fell upon me. Little Wan Yi, how have you been lately? I bowed my head in response. Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. All is well. The new emperor sighed. When Hengyu has stood outside the mansion for 10 days. Whispers have begun circulating in court. During morning court today, several elder ministers subtly reminded me that military officers should prioritize state affairs. My grandfather's mustache twitched. He chose to stand there himself. What does that have to do with my granddaughter? The emperor smiled. Naturally, it has nothing to do with Wan Yi. But 2 days ago, when Hengyu submitted a memorial requesting to relinquish his active military command, retaining only a ceremonial title, he stated that if he cannot marry you, he will no longer hold military authority. The new emperor studied my expression, speaking slowly. I did not come today to plead his case, but simply to ask one question. Wan Yi, how do you wish to handle him? I lifted my eyes. How does Your Majesty wish me to handle it? I desire nothing. The new emperor shook his head. This is your private affair. Yet when Hengyu remains a commander of the state, with the northern frontier unpacified and the Turks still lurking like tigers, should he truly withdraw into despondency, it would be detrimental to the nation. After a moment's contemplation, I replied, I understand. I shall handle it appropriately. The new emperor rose, drawing a document from his sleeve. One more matter. Su Haifeng's estate has been confiscated and should rightfully be forfeited to the state. But considering the years of hardship you and Mingyue endured, I decree half his assets shall be transferred to your name. I took the thick stack of papers. Thank you, Your Majesty. The new emperor waved his hand. It is I who should thank you. He reached the doorway, then paused and turned back. Wan Yi, life is long. One must always look forward. I lowered my eyes. This servant understands. I sold off all of Su Haifeng's assets. Most of the silver was donated to charity. With the remainder, I purchased a quiet plot of land at the foot of the Green Mountains outside the city. I hired the finest stonemason to erect a new monument for my mother. Beside her tomb stood a small, unmarked mound of earth. Kneeling before the graves, I lit incense and burned paper offerings. Wispy blue smoke curled upward. Faint footsteps approached from behind. Wen Hengyu paused behind me. After a long silence, his voice was hoarse. "You've finally agreed to see me." In just a few days, he had grown so haggard he was unrecognizable. Every trace of his former moonlit grace and pride vanished. I asked, "Do you remember what day it is today?" He froze, his lips trembling. "What day?" I tugged at the corner of my mouth, trying to smile. I couldn't manage it. Only bitterness welled up. Pingin's death anniversary. When Hengyu's entire body trembled. I'm sorry. Since you passed, I've lived in a daze. No need for apologies. I cut him off. I didn't call you here today to hear your repentance. Slowly, I drew my sword. The tip lifted, pressing against his throat. I came to kill you. I hate you. I hate that Pingin had a father like you. When Hengyu didn't flinch. His head tilted back slightly, a single tear slipping from the corner of his eye. Fine. To die by your hand is fine. Hatred surged to its peak in that moment. Another inch forward would end it all. Wind swept through the graveyard, stirring the ashes of burnt offerings into a swirling dance across the sky. I twisted my wrist, and the sword fell to the ground. Get out. Take your military token and go to the frontier. Never return. When Hengyu's eyes were bloodshot, his lips trembling. Wani. You'd be better off dying on the battlefield. I turned my back, refusing to look at him. I never want to see you again. Silence. Only the wind wailed. After a long while, I heard the sound of him slowly kneeling. When Hengyu was now weeping openly. I understand. Soon after, when Hengyu left the capital, returning to the northern frontier, an unexpected visitor arrived at the Jing prince's residence. It was Zhao Xing, a former subordinate of the crown prince who had been promoted to deputy commander of the imperial guard. Entrusted by Wen Hengyu, he delivered a wooden box. Zhao Xing handed over the box. General Wen instructed before his departure that this must be delivered to the princess. I opened the box. Inside was a long life lock. Zhao Xing explained, the general made this himself. He said it would bring safety. I accepted it. After Zhao Xing left, I had it discarded. If Pingin were still here, I wouldn't want anything of his. Border battle reports occasionally reached the capital. When Hengyu's name occasionally appeared in the victory announcements. No one hated Wen Hengyu more than I did. Yet he truly did defend the homeland. Days passed like this, peaceful and stable. 3 years flew by. An urgent report arrived from the northern frontier. During a night raid, Wen Hengyu was struck by an arrow in the chest, critically wounded and unconscious. The new emperor issued a special decree permitting his return to the capital for recuperation. When the decree reached the northern frontier, Wen Hengyu politely declined. He would never return to the capital. Deep winter. News of Wen Hengyu reached me once more. I was sorting through old books in my study when my grandfather pushed open the door, a letter in his hand. His expression was complex as he placed the letter on the table. From the north. Wen Hengyu. Passed away 3 days ago. His old wounds reopened on the battlefield. He didn't make it. This is the letter he left for you. My grandfather pushed the envelope forward. I did not open it. I picked up the envelope and walked straight to the charcoal brazier by the window. The paper turned to ash in the flames. Suddenly, I recalled a long-ago snowy day. When Hengyu returned from the army, his cloak dusted with snowflakes. Pingin scampered over on his little legs, and when Hengyu scooped him up, holding him high above his head. Pingin's giggles seemed to linger in my ears. Yet in the blink of an eye, everyone had scattered. Another spring arrived. The peach blossoms bloomed in the Jing prince's mansion, their pale pink petals blanketing the courtyard. Mingyue reached the age of coming of age, and my grandfather began arranging matchmaking for her. The little girl hid from me all day, blushing whenever the topic arose. I sat reading under the eaves, the warm sunlight bathing my body. From afar came the sounds of children playing, someone's little ones chasing each other down the alley, their laughter clear and crisp. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. The sweet scent of peach blossoms floated in the air. How lovely! Such a beautiful day. The end.